Van D, a dynamic leader with decades of experience building companies and crushing sales. He's been there and done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Van D.
Inspiring audiences across the country to do it too. Here's Van.
Well, welcome everybody, and glad to have you here for our podcast today. I love it when I have my favorite guest of all time, Mr. Jay Miralles. Jay, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Van, for having me. Always looking forward to being here. On my way here, I was like, okay, what are we going to do today?
Well, because we don't rehearse.
Well, exactly.
We don't rehearse because we're so full of content we love. We're passionate about sales.
Yes.
And we're passionate about our careers.
And if we don't know about it, we don't talk about it.
Right.
Exactly.
So the topics that we talk about, Jay, which is what I love about having you, is because you know all these topics and you're a master at them, are topics that benefit people in business.
Right.
Everything we talk about will benefit people that have any business, any human contact. I don't care if you're in leadership, the CEO of a company, you're going to gain knowledge by listening to these podcasts.
I agree, because the norm is to tune into the media, to what your friends are saying, to what your boss is saying, to what your customers are saying. And too often we need a reset. I look at these podcasts as like a mindset reset. It puts me in the right frame of mind. So my advice is hit subscribe, listen to these podcasts before you carry out difficult tasks, and you'll achieve a lot more.
Totally agree. And so our topic today is something that you and I talk about all the time off the air, and that's adding value.
Yes.
So our topic today is beyond your job description, adding value. And back to what you just said a minute ago, we're an outside voice. You know, we're not your boss.
No.
We aren't your spouse.
Right.
Or somebody that works for you or you work for us. We're an outside voice with one major purpose, and that's to help you accomplish all your lifelong dreams.
Without any strings, right? Because we're not there to watch you carry out the things that we're saying. But I want to frame this. You're talking about beyond your job description and adding value. Can I just tell you, I don't even like to use the word hate, but it really bothers me when people say, I'm sorry, that's out of my job description. Yeah. That's out of my scope.
It's out of my pay grade.
It hurts me.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
You know, it's not in my job description. I don't know. It's just, you hear it too often.
Well, and that's why you can't wait for somebody to give you a suggestion on adding value to your current customer. Here's the thing. If I have a current customer, I want to add value so he always is my customer.
Right.
I don't want to ever say he's my past customer.
Right.
I want him always to be my customer. So I want to think of ways to add value all the time. Now, let me just tell you this. I'm going to give you a couple examples, and I'd love your thoughts on them. So one of the things, and this may sound strange, but in your opinion, I want to ask your opinion of this. Would you call being a master at response value added?
I would say yes, because the communication that you get from most people today are either, oh, sorry, I didn't get back to you. Hey, I got busy. I didn't have it. Oh, there's always an excuse. So if you're a master of communication, of response to people, I think that is a value add.
Yeah, I asked that question, but my answer would be an absolute yes.
Yes.
So I can only speak, which is why I love it when you and I are on podcasts, because we're speaking to everybody through our own experiences.
Yes. Yep.
Hopefully it will benefit them and they can relate to us. So I 100% say mastering response is value added. I never want, and I've never had in all my career, somebody say, well, Van Deeb doesn't get back with me. People say, oh my gosh, as busy as Van is, he gets back with me immediately. So I'm known for responding immediately.
That's the norm with you.
That's the norm. Now, that doesn't mean I'm having a conversation with you and I'm looking at my phone waiting to respond to somebody.
Right.
That just means at my earliest convenience. So I look at that. That is one form of value added that I look at. That, and I don't look at it as, well, that's great that I do it. I look at it as, my customers deserve that. Now, you know my background is real estate, so I'm helping people with the biggest investment of their lives.
Absolutely.
Just like you are.
Absolutely.
So, in my opinion, when somebody's spending the kind of money they're spending or selling, they need answers now. They're not calling me with a question on Monday and will accept an answer on Thursday. You know what I mean?
So can I ask you, when you're looking at your customer to add value, does it always have to do with your business or the transaction when you add value to them?
No.
Can you give me an example of that?
Well, I mean, I also want to add value by just listening to people. I think when people get to know somebody and they get to know that I care deeply about who they are as a person and not just a client, you may get some other things thrown at you besides business.
Absolutely.
And value added in that case would be becoming a good listener.
Right.
I do it all the time for people.
And that brings value because I think too many people are interested in just the transaction. Nothing, the scope outside of this house, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that.
Right.
I've heard that in this industry so much.
So let me give you an example of what I would, in my experiences, as value added. For one, Jay, don't wait for them to give you the suggestion to add value.
Right.
Okay. And like I say, this is everybody listening, including Pat over here that owns Parkville Media and Matt over here that's taking pictures. We all can learn from adding value to our clients, no matter what it is. So one of my value added is, I'm going to use an example. I get a call from a title company in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they asked me to come speak at a very large realtor event that they were putting on. You know, title companies and mortgage companies throw big events and they bring in speakers. Well, because I'm a top real estate speaker, I get asked to do that often.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, they called, we set it up, flying in, this and that. And so what I said without them asking, this was a mortgage company that was one of the sponsors. I said to the mortgage manager, I said, how many loan officers do you have? And he said, I got 13. And I said, I tell you what, why don't I come in the day before and I'll do a little seminar workshop for your loan officers for 2 hours. And he goes, wow, that sounds great. Now, what is that going to cost in addition to your fee? I said, this is my value added proposition.
Which solidifies
it kind
trust.
of freaked him out. He was, you could tell on the phone, he's like, wow, you're going to give another 2 hours and you're not going to charge me anymore.
Right.
No, it's my value added.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully what you hope is that the people on the receiving end that hired you know that it's value added.
It will. Remember, they're going to pay your fee no matter what, right? Just like the other speaker who probably came in, but they're going to remember you for your value.
Absolutely.
They're going to say, well, this other guy, X or Van, you know what? Do you remember what Van did? He gave 2 more hours of his time and it made an impact there, and the guy didn't charge us for it. That sets you apart when people say, I can't compete on price. Stop competing on price. Give value.
Well, the thing is, when you become known as somebody that gives added value, they're going to refer you. And that's what makes the world go round, you know, is you want testimonies. You want people to refer you. And that's what will keep you in business.
Right.
Is people bragging, especially in our society today. I think people are scared to do business that are with people they've never done business with or they've never heard of. And so we need testimonies. We need people to refer us and say, hey, it's okay to use Jay Miralles to sell your house because he sold ours. He did a great job. You want people out there referring you, and added value is going to accomplish that.
Years ago, before I got to know you, the company I was
Getting to
affiliated-
know you, getting to know all about you.
Brought to you by
I can
Colgate.
sing. I can sing. Thank
So back to the podcast.
Do you want me to keep singing or not?
Absolutely not. Hum if
great.
you could. So a couple years back, we hired you, more than a couple years back, when I was getting to know you, or one of our companies that I was affiliated with hired you. And I thought, oh, he's a good speaker. He's got books. I was just getting to know you. But you, for the event, mixed in just like normal people would mix in. You spoke with them, you engaged with them, you were talking with the vendors. So by the time you got on stage, people said, wow, I kind of connect with this guy. I remember when you were talking still, it was at the Make an Impact at B4B.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. That was years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember just the stronghold you had on the group, because I think you were the only speaker who really took time to do that.
So what you're talking, first of all, thank you for
Yeah,
recognizing
absolutely.
that. And I appreciate that you remember that. It means a lot to me. But so what you're describing right there, Jay, is what our whole content is. It's value added.
Value added.
So, for instance, I had an email this morning of a luncheon I'm speaking at, and they said, you're going to speak right after they're through eating. And they said, you can come at 12:30 if you like and speak, or you can join us for lunch. I immediately responded and said, I'd like to come for lunch. Not just because I don't want to spend money on going out and buying my own lunch, which is a huge part of it.
$23 average.
But the reason why is when I do these, I want to go and mingle with everybody. So I'm going to sit at a table with strangers,
Yes.
get to know them, and then I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk around and say hi. Hi to people.
Yeah.
I'm your speaker today.
Yeah.
I want to get to know them. This may not sound like value added, but in my industry of speaking, they don't do that. Speakers come in, do their thing, and they leave.
They sit in the back of the room.
I never want to be that guy. And I've even gone and asked before, can I come for lunch?
Right.
Can I be there for lunch? And everybody has always said yes, but it makes them more comfortable with me.
Yeah.
This to me is value added. We can all come up with something right now for our listeners, Jay. I guarantee if they replay this podcast and they get a pad and pen and they write down at the top, and I'm very sophomoric. I'm not a big fan of complicated. I'm just not.
Right.
I believe that if we got a pad and pen right now and we write at the top of this pad, how can I add value in my career?
Right.
And you don't have to come up with all these things right now, but keep it on the end of your desk. And every time you think of something, write it down. And then implement something.
Right.
Something that you wrote down. Maybe it's a phone call. Maybe it's just a phone call that you're adding value, saying, hey, I know that you bought this product from me, this and that. Is there anything I can do? Anything I can do
Absolutely.
for you? So we want to constantly think of ways to add value. I know when I had my real estate company for all those years, I had an agent that actually on Thanksgiving bought 200 pumpkin pies, and she delivered them the day before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Now, are her customers going to use her anyway to sell their house? Probably.
Yeah.
But don't you think, now I guarantee you those customers, do you think they just kept it quiet?
No, they probably shared that with
They
other
probably
people.
told all these people. Now, what my realtor didn't know is I had the addresses of all the places that she dropped off, and I followed her, and I picked them all up, and then I sold them later.
That's value right there.
No, I'm kidding.
But what's cool is
But the value added that she did. Thing is, value added is usually things you don't have to do.
they are natural within you. And if you just let those out, like think about this 200 pies, right? I just want to, and then we'll lay this to rest. But 200 pies, think of their first 3 stops. Do you think the 189th recipient really cared about the second recipient? No, they probably didn't know about each other. But people add value not because they want to be recognized. They add value because that's who they are and separates them.
I agree.
Because people are going to listen to this podcast and be pumped up.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, I'm going to add value
I'm going to
today.
think of something
right
today
now.
that nobody else is doing in my industry to add value.
And then they're going to stop next week.
They're going to stop. It's got to be a continuous.
Yes.
And here's the thing, just like you always hear us say, you create a discipline of adding value all of a sudden that discipline becomes a habit.
Yes.
And before you know it, it becomes natural to you. Now, I want to prepare our audience that when you start doing value-added things, be prepared for strange responses.
Yes.
Because they're not used to it. I want to give you an example. There's a title company in Phoenix, Arizona. They were having a big event, and they had me be the speaker. And so all the realtors that they were having come to this event in Phoenix were coming to hear me speak. So I said to the sponsor, after he hired me, I said, give me a list of 10 real estate agents that don't do business with your title company,
Yes.
that you guys want to do business with,
Right.
and you want to see them come to this event. And the response was like, well, why is that? And we're like, well, do I got to spell it out for you?
Right.
It's gonna be
And
good
you
for you,
did.
believe me.
Yes.
So long story short, what I did is he gave me a list of 10 real estate agents that their company was currently not doing business with. And I called up all 10 of them and I said, hi, my name is Van Deeb. I'm a national real estate speaker. I'm going to be in your city on this date. The sponsor asked me to personally call you. You must mean a lot to them because they asked me to personally call you to be in attendance.
That's wow. That's
and they only
wow.
gave me a handful of people, so you must be pretty special. I want to tell you something. The response I got was, I'll be there, or you know what, my calendar says I've got this appointment, but I'm going to move it so I can attend. That is value added times 10.
Right.
Now, I didn't wait for my sponsor to ask me to do that. But it's kind of strange because they should be jumping up and down that you're doing it, but they're so not used to people.
Right.
I mean, people aren't used to people saying, I'm going to do more than I'm supposed to.
And they act like you expect something in return. Like, what's the bill going to be? Or why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
Because
What's
no
in
one
it
ever
for
has.
you?
No one
I
ever
mean,
has done it.
No. It's something else when you become known as the guy. Oh, you know what? Use Jay Miralles to sell your real estate because he does more than he's supposed to.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
who doesn't want to do business with that person?
So the word I use a lot is extra. Oh my gosh, you're so extra. Some people say that. Yeah. Oh, Jay, you did a little too, like, we just want bows on it. You put bows in a box.
Yeah.
I'm just speaking in metaphors, but I'm saying that when people recognize that you go above and beyond, sometimes they criticize.
Mm-hmm.
What? You don't have to do all that. That's too much work. That's okay. I'm going to do what I do, and you're going to do what you do.
And that's a huge bummer when people don't recognize and appreciate that you're doing more than you're supposed to do.
Not only do they not appreciate, they criticize and
Yeah.
say, I've been doing this for 20 years, Van Deeb.
Yeah.
Why do I need to do that? You don't need to do anything. That's what makes excellence stand out
And
at
you know
excellent.
what? You're exactly right. And you should do it because that's part of your makeup.
Right.
That's part of your business acumen.
Right.
That's part of who you are, is you know in your mind. So you know what that does for you? Even if it's not accepted and people aren't like, especially your competition.
All
if
day.
anybody's going to criticize you, it's going
Yeah.
to be your competition. Well, he's got to do these extra things because he's not good at. No, he's great at that.
Right.
And this just makes him greater.
And I'm on your mind.
But what it does is it creates, when you become a value added human, it becomes who you are and it builds your confidence. Now, let me tell you something. We're talking about adding value as a business person. What about what it does to you in your personal life? What about what it does to you as a parent, as a spouse?
As a dad,
As a
right?
dad, you start becoming more of a value added. It's going to affect your entire life. Throwing a football with your kid. Maybe he wants to throw it for 5 more minutes.
Right.
You become this person and it'll
And you
become natural
valuable.
to you.
How
But
many?
the confidence it creates.
Yeah.
I know when I walk in a room, well, yes, let's just say that. I know when I walk in a room and I'm going to be speaking, I know that I'm adding value.
Yes.
So I know that I'm going to be confident. I'm going to get up there and I'm going to rock it on stage.
Because you've done it and you live the example.
And it's the same thing I've done for almost 4 decades, going into people's homes and saying, I want to be the guy to sell your house. It's a confident. even if you don't tell the customer the value-added things that you're doing, which you should,
Right.
because they don't know unless you tell them.
Right.
And I believe everybody, especially in real estate, when you're sitting in front of a seller, you say, this is what we're going to do for you. And in addition, as your listing agent, I'm going to also do this, this, and this.
I think to get your disproportionate share of success, you have to add value, brother. Because there's a lot of people who are successful in what they do, and they're good, and they're above average, and some are deemed excellent. But to get your disproportionate share of business or success, you have to add value.
And you know something, Jay? All this comes down to a bottom line. What a bummer it would be to be on our deathbed saying, I could have done more.
Right.
How fair is that to your kids?
Right.
How fair is that to your employees? How fair is that to your spouse or your coworkers? I could have done more. Well, why didn't you? It would have made our lives better.
Right.
So we all, forget the business side of it, even though that's what this show is all about, is helping people succeed in business. Forget that side of it. Add value and make other people's lives better.
Because if you have the ability,
you have the responsibility.
I mean, that every time I hear you say that, it ties into almost anything you can talk about. We have the ability to add value. It doesn't take a lot of extra special things. It takes time and thought and intention, right? But guess what? Most of the people say, I'm going to start adding value. I'm going to give this in my presentation. And guess what? It falls off because adding value is not easy.
You're exactly right. Speaking of adding value, you add value to this podcast. And I want to thank you for being my guest today. Very grateful for you, Jay Miralles. And Jay, if people want to get a hold of you, you're a great MC. You're one of the best MCs I've ever heard in my life. I've been to several events that you've rocked it in large audiences of thousands. And if somebody wants to contact you to be an MC, how should they get a hold of you?
So below this link of the podcast, you'll have my name there. Really simple. My first name, JAY.Miralles, hard last name, MIRALLES, J.Miracles, change the C to an L at gmail.com. That's a whole lot of
good. I hope they contact you.
I hope they do too.
And for those of you, please rate, subscribe, and review. And also, if you like our content, I do it in a monthly newsletter that you can sign up at vandeeb.com, and it's all very similar to this type of content. But thank you, everybody, for tuning into this podcast about adding value to your career. And play another one. Thanks for tuning in.
A Parkville Media Production.